Hey, all right. It's the Android Headline Show. This is episode 62. We're broadcasting live Thursday evening, June 5th. My name's Jeremiah. I'm joined tonight by Nick and Alex from the site. You guys want to say what's up?
What's up, everyone?
Hey, wait, we're live?
We are live.
I'm kidding.
Frank is also asking. We got the Q&A on. He's asking if anyone is there. Yes, we got started about 7 minutes late. So we are here. Ground control to Major Tom.
Good song, I like it.
Yes. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. Big news this week. WWDC, that keynote. We'll talk a little bit about that just because we were all really amused that Apple took 10 minutes out of Tim Cook took 10 minutes out of his keynote to talk about Android. And all the execs on stage took some time to bash Android. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Sprint is buying T-Mobile. It's not official, but it's unofficially official. We're going to touch a little bit on some Google I/O predictions, just a little bit. We'll get into more of that as the time draws closer, but that's only 3 weeks away. Xperia Z2 Tablet with Verizon branding. So we got some more Sony devices with Verizon logos on them. T-Mobile's UnCarrier 5.0 event and Amazon's smartphone announcement. Android 4.4.3 dropped this week. Hangouts got another update. So let's jump into WWDC. I was so amused by this, man. So Apple decided to bash Android a little bit, have a little bit of fun with it, except that they spent almost 10 minutes talking about Android. Now, they were saying negative things. They obviously hate Android still. They poked a little bit of fun at themselves throughout the keynote as well, but this really amused me because Google never spends any time talking about Apple. Google talks about all the awesome stuff that they're doing. Apple decides to spend 10 minutes bashing the competition. In my day job, I'm in sales. The first rule of sales is don't bash the competition. Sell the benefits of your own product, right? Apple. Now, I will say that the improvements to iOS were good. iOS 8 is caught up to KitKat now. Some of the things that they're doing are really streamlined, and I think Google could kind of take some notes there. But it was still really funny that Apple spent 10 minutes talking about Android during their Apple keynote.
Yeah, I was I know they've kind of done that before. They haven't really spent quite that much time on it, but it was definitely interesting to see. I think they're finally sort of feeling the impact. And of course, they're still selling more and more units every quarter, but in terms of market share, they've been consistently going down pretty much every quarter. I think every now and then, a new iPhone launches, they'll go up a few percentage points, and then next quarter they're down another 5 or whatever. I don't know. How did you guys feel about iOS 8? What was your opinions on it? Because I know mine were actually pretty favorable, and I wasn't sure how to think of what I felt about it.
I actually kind of liked it, especially with the third-party keyboards, all the semi-openness, I guess you could call it, with the home kit and the health kit and all the other kits that they announced. It kind of seems like they're copying Samsung in a way with the health stuff, because Samsung was, I think they're the ones that really started it as far as big manufacturers go, and now Apple's going ahead with it. They might do it better, they might do it worse. I don't know. I don't have a iOS device to check it out or have the beta either to try it out, but the home automation stuff is pretty cool. But the one thing I noticed with all the brands that they partnered with, no Nest.
Oh, of course not.
They were like best buddies before Google bought them.
Yeah. My overall feeling was exactly what it was last year. iOS is catching up. They're playing catch up as far as features go. So now iOS 8 is pretty much at feature parity with the current version of Android. Most of the features that they announced, all I could think was, we had that 2 years ago. Now, what Apple is really good at is taking all those features and baking them into the OS and making it smooth and making everything work really well together out of the box. Whereas with most of those features, I shouldn't say most, but quite a few of them, you have to get them through a third-party app, or they are only recently baked into Android. Some of the continuity stuff
might take them out.
Yeah, some of the carriers do that too. Some of the continuity stuff, being able to move from your phone to your laptop to your desktop, whatever, for phone calls or for messaging or just for whatever you happen to be doing on your tablet or your phone, and then throw it to your laptop. As far as documents, those kind of things, you can do it on Android. It's just not quite as smooth. You can do it on Android if you use Google Voice. Hangouts will do a lot of the same thing, but it's not quite as smooth. So in some of those areas, Apple took iOS 8, and I feel like kind of pushed them to the next level. But overall, they just are playing catch up. Some of the new features they took the notification, some of the like quick reply notification stuff, kind of and added a little bit more to that, which I thought was kind of cool. There's a family sharing in the App Store now, so you can see purchases from your family, which can be handy if you've got kids or if you've got just family members or on a plan that you want to share with. But I like what they did. There were a couple of pieces that I thought Google can kind of take and learn from, and will push competition a little bit. But overall, Apple's playing catch up again.
The one thing I liked about from Yosemite is the ability, to answer your phone from your Mac without installing anything at all, having anything open. Like you can do it with Google Voice, but you need to have Chrome open. I think at least Google Plus. It's been a while since I've used it, but with Yosemite, just have your MacBook there. Call comes in, answer it. Only thing is you have to have an iPhone, and I have a Mac, but not an iPhone.
Yeah, you can do that with Hangouts too if you've got, like I've got a Google Voice number, so it'll ring to Hangouts, but it's not as easy.
Yep.
Yeah, it just works basically.
I'll be interested to see what your feelings are on the visual refresh too, because I know at least for OS X I was expecting a lot more, and from what I saw on the keynote, it seemed like everything looked really the same except for maybe a slightly different shade of gray. Maybe took out the gradient and just left a flat color or whatever. But it didn't look like iOS 7 was a really significant visual change, and this just didn't look like that again. It just kind of looked like a slightly different color of yellow from the last time or whatever.
Yeah, they made it like translucent, so if you have the background is gray, it's obviously going to be gray because it's translucent.
Yeah, but I don't know. It could have just been what they were showing.
Like the menu bar at the top of the screen, that looks more flat. Like I'm looking at mine now, it's like gradient, and the one in Yosemite is like more flat now. And so is the tray with all the apps and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say though on iOS 8, Jeremiah, you were talking about feature parity. And I kind of felt that way too when they were announcing all this stuff. I was like, man, they finally got up with it seemed like everything. But and I think they said that they were even opening the fingerprint scanner up to other apps and stuff, right?
Yes, the Touch ID API is open now.
Yeah, I think
that was. Than it was.
That was one of the only things I liked new on the S5 was that they did the fingerprint scanner with the ability to for other apps to use it. So it's nice to see that in there because it's just silly to keep it as only unlock. But there's still the more I thought about it, the more it's like, okay, I still hate that launcher on iOS, whatever you want to call the thing, the home screen. It's terrible.
It's just a home screen. Yeah, there's no launcher options.
So they already set the precedent, third-party keyboards. I'm really hoping that they do the same thing with the rest of the OS. And that's the other big problem is you still can't set defaults. You're still stuck with Apple's homebrew software, out of the box, and that's really all you have for the most part with a lot of stuff. So they do still have quite a bit of catching up to do, but I think this is probably the biggest jump in a very, very long time.
I think it really surprised a lot of people, especially with like the third-party keywords, because usually it's
Yeah,
like, oh, we like this keyword, so you're gonna like it, or else you're gonna have to
that's
go to
right.
Android or something. So seeing third-party keywords, I think I know SwiftKey's going to iOS 8. I think Flexi is also going, Swipe, a few others that we all use here on Android.
Yep.
So that's gonna
Oh
be a
yeah,
big
they'll
deal.
all be pushing real hard to make that jump.
Oh yeah.
Hey, and you know what? I'm good with competition. Keep it going because it keeps pushing Google too. And I think,
That's
this time next year when Project Era is hopefully out and Android 5.0 or whatever it is, and we really have another significant leap in pretty much everything. That's going to be hardware and software leap. It'll be interesting to see what Apple responds with then.
Another interesting point that I saw with iOS 8 was apps being able to talk to each other and share information now.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, and
Actual sharing.
I forget what they called it, but basically the apps are still siloed, like they are on iOS 7 and previous versions of iOS. But now, if the developer builds in the capability, the apps are able to share information with each other, which is something that we take for granted on Android, and it's one of the major factors that have kept me from even trying out iOS on any real level, because it's just a pain in the neck. If I take a picture, I need to be able to take that picture from the camera app, throw it into Snapseed and edit it, and then throw it into Instagram and share it. I don't need to take the picture, close the camera, open Snapseed, edit it, close Snapseed, open Instagram, find it. It's just that's how you have to do it on iOS moving forward. If the developers, and I don't see why they would not, but as long as developers build this functionality into their apps, iOS apps will be able to talk to each other, which is a big, big deal.
Yep. It's
yeah.
about
I
time.
forgot that that's how you have to do it in iOS because I haven't used it since like the betas of iOS 5.
Yeah, I forget until I watch somebody use it, and it's like, oh, that's right.
You're adding,
Got to do
yeah.
that.
Sometimes you're adding minutes to the process of, sharing a photo or sharing a video or
Yes.
posting a message somewhere.
But remember, Jeremiah, it's more simple.
It is, and it's not
Nope.
a toxic hell stew of malware. 99% of all Android
That's
apps are
right.
malware.
No viruses.
I
Come
don't know
on.
who's getting malware on their devices, guys. I've never heard of from anyone that's gotten
I
it, and I have never gotten it since like 2009.
I've known one person that's on Android that's ever gotten malware, and the guy was downloading porn apps from like pirated app sites.
I was gonna make the
So
prawns joke, but
what
I
do
didn't
you
get there yet.
expect? Yeah, what do you expect? If you're downloading
That's
sketchy stuff from sketchy
that'll.
websites.
I'm sure that'll happen even on the superior MacBook.
Yep, yep. So
Don't do that stuff. It's never a good idea, no matter what you're using.
if you're really that worried about it, just don't uncheck unknown sources. And so you
There you
can't
go.
install anything except when it comes from the Play Store, and you're good to go. Google checks
Yep.
that.
Exactly.
So, um, so yeah, iOS 8. I'm glad that iOS users can catch up again.
I actually might try out iOS this fall when they announce their new hardware. I'm not sure. It's been a while.
You're fired. I'm kidding, because I thought the same thing. Now that some of those...
Well, you have an iPad, so
Right, yeah, I do have an iPad for work. I can play with that a little bit and just kind of...
Yeah, that'll give you opportunity.
I don't think it's running iOS 7, though. I think it's still running 6.
is it an iPad too?
No, it's an Air, but maybe
Wow.
maybe it's running 7. It's from work. It's for work. They gave it to me.
7 though, so how does it have 6?
Oh, dude, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know anything about it. I got it for work, and I don't tinker with it because...
It launched on iOS 7.
Okay, well then it's running 7.
Because it launched last fall, and iOS 7 was like a month before that, I think.
I don't mind being an idiot about iOS stuff.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, I thought the same thing. Now that some of that kind of core features, like apps being able to talk to each other, now that we can get those, now that iOS users can have access to those, it makes it a little more appealing. So, but moving on to something not really Android related, but Sprint is buying T-Mobile for $40 a share, so about $32 billion is what it comes out to. What do you guys think?
I was wondering where Sprint has the money for this. Is it their parent company that's doing this?
SoftBank, yeah.
They
Okay.
went and got financing from like 4 or 5 banks for it. So SoftBank is really in debt now after paying 20
It's crazy.
billion. I forget how much they pay for Sprint. Was it like 20 something billion?
I think it was about 26. Yeah, 26 billion.
And they own 80%, I think, and they're only gonna get like 50 something percent of DT's 67% stake of T-Mobile.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're breaking it into
So it's
pieces.
like,
Now, this is not official.
Sure.
These are
this is just sourced from Reuters and Wall Street Journal. So when they report it, it's pretty much official, but we still have to treat it as a rumor. We also still have to wait for it to be approved by the FCC and everybody else.
And
Sure.
the announcement is supposed to be coming in either July or August.
Yep.
And then it'll take 6 to 12 months to get approved, if it gets approved. The latest report that I read said it's somewhere around a 10% chance of the deal being approved. So
Yeah, that's what I read earlier too.
it may not happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't, if it's not approved by the Department of Justice or the FCC. But
I know Deutsche Telekom was looking for like a pretty big breakup fee, like they got with AT&T. I forget how much they got, but they got a bunch of spectrum too. So I don't know what SoftBank is giving them, but I know they wanted something like $1 billion or something if it doesn't go through.
they got $4 billion out of AT&T when that deal fell through.
Yeah, they wanted like $1 billion plus for if this one falls through, which I kind of think it will. I mean, I have mixed thoughts about it actually going, like, it actually happening. But as far as it going through past FCC, I just don't see it happening.
See, what I was wondering was, is this move more of the parent company wanting to have just a larger stake in the U.S. market, or is this a move kind of pushed on by the Sprint guys saying maybe this is a better way, to get basically a better network than trying to completely rebuild their own?
I think it's both. I think Sprint's thinking like, well, they see how fast T-Mobile is pushing out LTE right now, and
Sure.
how they just bought the 700 megahertz spectrum from Verizon that they'll be deploying later this year. And you combine that with Sprint's already 800 megahertz, and that's going to be pretty good for indoor use, building penetration and stuff. But as far as for the FCC, what they're telling them is that, combining them will put them about around 10 million customers lower than what AT&T and Verizon have. Because right now, T-Mobile's 49 million, Sprint's 55, and then AT&T and Verizon are like 119 and 120 million. So there's a big jump there between 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4. So combining them, they're saying that, having 3 strong players will be better than 2 strong ones and 2 weaker ones.
Yep.
I can see that. I don't know. But the thing with Masayoshi-san saying they need more spectrum, I don't believe that, because they have like the most spectrum out of all the carriers. It's not all like low frequency stuff, but they do have a lot of spectrum.
And I mean, T-Mobile and Sprint, T-Mobile in particular, recently are able to kind of poke at Verizon and AT&T and have made some changes. They've forced T-Mobile has forced AT&T and Verizon to really, make some serious changes to their plans and the way they handle their phone upgrades, and just a level of transparency. If Sprint buys, or SoftBank buys T-Mobile and merges the two companies, their rumor is that John Ledger is going to stay on as CEO. Yep. He's going to get some kind of insane, like tens of millions of dollars as like bonus when that happens. But he's going to stay on as CEO.
How can they afford that?
It would come from, it's something in his contract. The way these executives contracts are written, like golden parachute type stuff. If the company goes out of business or gets bought or for whatever reason has to dissolve, they get some crazy bonus. But he'll be sticking around as CEO, and they'll be keeping T-Mobile as far as just like corporate culture and what they're not going to be going and doing what Sprint does. I don't know if that means names and logos and the pink versus the yellow, but
it's going to take a while for them to transition to it, because if the deal is made official in July or August, it could take about a year, because if you think about it, the Lenovo Motorola deal still hasn't been approved, and that was, in January, I think, or February?
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't heard anything about that since Google announced that they sold Motorola to Lenovo. So it can be, next summer before it even becomes officially official, and then you still got all the transition stuff to go through. And
yeah, that's a lot of stuff to transition.
Yeah, we still have a long road. I don't even know if they finished the merger with Metro PCS yet. I know they recycled their VLLT in Seattle and San Francisco. They launched today.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they shut down their network in a few other markets, but it's very far from being, consolidated and transferred over.
And it takes a while. When Sprint bought Nextel, completely different technologies, and that's
it's
still
just now finished up.
Yeah. When Verizon bought Alltel, those were the same technologies, and it still took Verizon a year to 18 months because I was working at Verizon at the time. And I want to say it was like 12 to 18 months to get everything rolled over and completed. So
I think they're gonna probably run it like T-Mobile did with Metro PCS, where they're gonna keep the two brands for a while. Because right now you can go to either T-Mobile or Metro PCS, but the press releases are pretty much from the same place. The network is a little bit different because Metro PCS was CDMA, although they went to VLLT in a lot of markets, so that CDMA didn't really matter anymore. But I have a feeling that it's going to stay T-Mobile and Sprint, but financials will be the same, stuff like that. Because when you get T-Mobile earnings, I think you get Metro PCS earnings as well every quarter.
Yeah, I think it's just all reported together. So, but yeah, that'll be something to watch. We should see an announcement in 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, the important thing to remember is it's not going to happen overnight. And terms are going to change, which means you'll be able to get out of contracts even though T-Mobile doesn't do contracts. But if you're on Sprint, then you could get out of your contract. I'm sure there's a way to get out of it on T-Mobile too, if whatever they're calling it now.
Depends on how it's structured.
Yeah.
If the way Verizon handled it with Alltel is they let Alltel customers stay on their plans, like you didn't have to change anything as long as you didn't change your device.
Yeah.
If you changed nothing, you didn't change your phone, you didn't change your plan, the only thing you could change on your account was your billing address. Like if you kept everything else the same, then you were allowed to keep that. But by doing that, they didn't have to let you out of their contract.
Yep.
So it depends on how T-Mobile and Sprint structure the deal. Let's talk a little bit about I/O because that's 20 days away. We got some expectations. Got some things that we're thinking we're going to see. Some things that, like Android TV, that we didn't think. First, we thought it was going to happen. Then we didn't hear anything about it. Now we're hearing more rumors that it's actually going to happen, which, with the confirmation that there is hardware in the works, it makes sense for them to unveil it. But what do you guys think? What's your just initial, just quick kind of predictions for I/O?
We're going to see a lot of Android Wear stuff. I absolutely believe that. They just rolled out 443, which has a lot of Android Wear functionality tied into it. So I think we're definitely going to see plenty of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking tons of Android Wear, Android TV, stuff like that. As far as like new version of Android, I'm not sure because they didn't do one last year. Nexus 8 is rumored. I'm not sure about that one either. But if you're gonna get one, you're gonna get both of them.
I don't know about Android TV. I'm not sure that we're going to see that. I know we saw that whole leak, I don't know, the other month from Engadget, I think it was, but I don't know, haven't seen anything pointing to that. Everything's pointing to Wear, and then I'm sure they'll have some Glass stuff there, maybe some Project Era stuff there. I can't remember what was on the list now that we talked about like a month ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. No, with Android TV, we saw that leak from The Verge, and then
the changelog for 4.4.3 came out, and it showed a set-top box made by Google. It also showed the Nexus 8 made by HTC.
Yep.
Molly and what was the other one?
Flounder.
Flounder's the
Some
set-top
other
box,
fish.
right?
I don't remember which one was which, but
I don't either.
Yeah, you're right. I remember that, but I don't know.
Well, then when Google announced the I/O schedule, there was nothing about Android TV on there. There's sessions about Android Wear. There's sessions about what's new in Android. There's sessions for some other stuff, with Google sign-in that's replacing Google Plus, but there was no Google TV or Android TV, rather. But then we saw a report from GigaOM 5-6 days ago that Android TV is going to be announced. There's this feature called Pano, which is what The Verge had initially reported on, where apps were going to kind of talk. You weren't going to have to jump into a specific app to find specific content. You could just browse or search between apps. So whether it was Netflix or Hulu or YouTube or Crackle or whatever app happened to be available, you would be browsing the content, not having to open Netflix and look for a show and then close out of that and go into Hulu Plus and look for a show. So that's that Pano feature, being able to just browse content across apps.
From what I read,
about what they're trying to do with a new TV, new living room push.
From what I read, they're supposed to be making it, super easy to find content to, watch and stuff. I guess that was a problem with Google TV. I never used Google TV, so I don't really know why it didn't take off or anything like that. But it's supposed to have gaming stuff in there. It's basically be the Fire TV, but Google services in there, so it's going to sell a whole lot more.
And that's why I think we're going to see it, because we saw the leaks and the rumors and the hardware, and then we saw this next report after the schedule. Google always changes the I/O schedule a little bit. They leave it kind of vague so that they can make changes to it. I think Android TV is going to be one of those. Android Wear for sure. The LG G Watch, probably the Moto 360, maybe some others.
Yeah, it seems like the G Watch is probably going to be the one that's going to be pushed the most, at least for now. I know the 360 seems to be the big popular one, but I don't know that it's ready.
Yeah, the G Watch is supposed to be their reference device for Android Wear, so sort of like a Nexus type Android Wear device. So I'm pretty sure we'll see that at I/O. They'll probably give one out to everybody else there too.
Yeah, which makes sense since it's LG. That's the reference.
I think both of them are supposed to come out in Q3, which starts like a few days after I/O. So we'll probably see it launch shortly after I/O is over with. That leaked out a lot more this week too. Was it that one that we saw the new Android logo, or was there a different leak that we saw that
was
logo
the G
from?
Watch, yep. Because the system dump hit, and there really was not much in it. It was pretty basic. But we saw that system dump with the new boot animation, and so yeah, we'll see that for sure. I'm thinking that we'll probably see the Moto 360 also.
I think we'll see it, but maybe not. I mean, it probably is final by now, especially if it's coming out in Q3. They're probably mass production right now. maybe not final software, depending on what Motorola has to do on top of Android, where the software that they get from Google. I hope nobody puts skins on top of them.
Right.
Especially when you come to LG and Samsung and HTC. Literally, if it's minimal, like Asus and Acer.
Yep. Well, and we also saw the G Watch and the Moto 360 in those leaked images. Couple, 2-3 days ago, with them 360 looking absolutely giant.
Is that the one with the guy that had the Nest on his arm?
Yes. Yep. It's as big around as a teacup, like a saucer, little plate or something, man. Like it's. So whether or not that's final hardware, who knows? But and then giveaways. Google always gives away some cool stuff. So we're thinking a G Watch, maybe the Nexus 8 tablet. Wouldn't be the first time they've given away a Nexus tablet. But then there was also a rumor, and this I think initially started on secret, that they're going to be giving away a Project Tango tablet instead. Which was interesting because we saw the Project Tango tablet today.
Yep.
You know?
I've been waiting for somebody to leak something on secret. I just knew
it already happened a while ago with
a
fake leak with some Apple earbuds. But maybe this will actually happen with this the Project Tango. So
I think we're going
to see today was a developer's kit tablet, right?
I think we'll see a bunch of Project Tango stuff at Google I/O as well. But yeah, that tablet has a Tiger K1 processor in there, 4 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, KitKat LTE. I think that was all they told us as far as specs go. They didn't say anything about the display, but it's a 7-inch display, so.
You know what I was most excited about to see in that thing? Is that Tegra. The price, get out of here.
I was amused by the price because it's $1,024.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah.
But I really wanted NVIDIA to succeed more than they have because they always pump out such good stuff, but it never comes in anything. You get like one device a year that has an NVIDIA product in it, and that's it. So
yeah, back with like the Tegra 3, it was in a lot more devices, but since the HTC One X, and I guess everybody found out how bad battery life was with the Tegra 3 in there, they decided, let's keep that for gaming stuff like tablets and Shield.
Yeah, which makes sense. I'm fine with that. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe their other stuff works better in phones, but their other big weakness was updates. They were just bad about providing drivers for updates.
Because that's why I think the One X wasn't getting updated any further because of NVIDIA, and I guess Google worked out something with NVIDIA for the original Nexus 7 and get it to KitKat. So I don't know if it's going to get updated past 4.4 or not.
Yeah.
We shall see.
What? So for those of you that are not familiar, you guys want to talk a little bit about Project Tango? Because I don't feel like we've heard of that or heard about it or talked about it very often.
I don't know all the technical stuff about it, but for what I've seen, it's like for mapping and stuff.
So basically these devices are, it's going to have a ton of sensors. So beyond just like a gyroscope and a barometer, but it's supposed to have multiple cameras, so depth and like creating 3D images, kind of like the Duo camera or this rumored Amazon smartphone, all kinds of like heat, temperature, humidity, and pretty much any kind of sensor you can think of that you can build into a device. A compass, like an actual working compass, not an electronic one that doesn't work. And it's kind of a moonshot. Like, they don't really know what they're going to do with it or what it's going to do yet, but that's kind of what the project is built around. It's
a very interesting project. Data. And anytime they have something crazy like this come out, even if it is only sort of a niche product, sort of like, it seems like glass might be that kind of thing too. at the very least, it's an interesting one, and it brings about a lot of new stuff. And this one in particular just looks like a crazy idea. I mean, I don't know. You guys watched the video for that, right? Where they were walking through the room and it was showing the whole 3D mapped room as the guy was walking through it.
Yes, it looked like Morgan Freeman and Christian Bale and Batman.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Yeah, it's exactly what it was like. Perfect. I forgot about that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's straight. It just maps the room in real time as you're walking through it. It's nuts.
Yep.
See, I would just get that tablet for the specs. Project Angle.
Not a bad idea.
And maybe they'll give one out. It's a developers conference. That's at this point, a very developer-focused project. It wouldn't be the first time that Google has given out a device that's priced at more than $1,000. Chromebook was $1,400. So, yeah, the Chromebook.
And they got the LTE. They got the LTE version too. So lucky.
Yeah.
I love the Chromebook Pixel. I was sad when I had to return it.
Yep. So who knows? We still got 3 weeks to kind of see what else leaks out, and before the event actually starts. But we'll delve into that, especially the week before. We'll really go into detail on what we expect to see, but that's just kind of a high-level overview. Talking about tablets, though, the Xperia Z2 Tablet leaked out with Verizon logo on the back of it. Big old 4G LTE on there. Which is only interesting because we recently saw
the Z2, the regular Z2.
The Z2, and Sony kind of backpedaled and said, "Oh no, they're just renders. We're just working on some, it's just a render with the Verizon logo," and they immediately replaced it with the image that just had the Sony logo. But Verizon's thinking about picking up some Sony devices. They're testing them, and they may announce them. At this point, if we see a Verizon announcement, hold on just 1 second. While we were talking about, Frank's got a question here. Did anyone see the mock-up version of the Moto watch?
He might be talking about all the watch faces that are in that Google Plus group or community. There's
which I did not see.
I think I did a top 5 or 10 of some of the best ones in there. There's a ton in there that look pretty good.
Nice. I'll have to check it out. I missed that one.
You'll spend a whole day looking through them.
Oh man, I'm sure that community is going to explode when these.
Well, that's the one they're using for the competition, for the free Moto 360.
Right.
Beautiful. Right. That reminds me of that Gear Faces website I showed you guys.
Yep.
There's got to be thousands of ones on there. It'd take you forever to go through all that crap.
Yep. So, but yeah, Verizon is thinking about carrying some Sony devices, which is exciting because we like Sony. We'd like them more if we could.
First Xperia Play in 2010, 2011.
Yeah, when did that come out? I want to say it's 2011. It sounds right.
Yeah, it sounds right, but I'm not sure if it was.
But
it was
again,
a long time ago, and it was after the original Droid, so there you go.
I can't remember because Sony doesn't have phones here in the States, so we just don't pay attention to a lot of what Sony's doing.
Verizon will probably be a very good place for them to try, because I don't know how well they did on T-Mobile with the Z1S, but I don't know anybody with it. Actually, you know what? That's a lie. I saw one person in public with it.
I know a lot of people with the Z and the Z1, or the Z1S from T-Mobile. I mean, most of them are tech geeks like me, so that's probably why they have it. But mostly everybody from T-Mobile has a Samsung phone because that's all they sell pretty much.
Yeah, T-Mobile's a big Samsung carrier for sure.
They're getting a lot of LG stuff now, like the L90, the F70, some other low-end stuff for their prepaid.
And I know for a while there they had a lot of just exclusive Samsung phones. They had that one, I can't even remember what it's called. I reviewed it 2 years ago with the keyboard.
Yeah,
there's the Galaxy S Rapid 4G something.
Yes, it had eight words attached to the name. It was ridiculous.
It's like a Galaxy S device when the Galaxy S3 just came out. How confusing is that?
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. But we're pulling for Sony to make a big push into the States. If they have to start with Verizon, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, everybody's like, the Z2 is a much better phone than the S5. Well, we don't know. We don't have the Z2, so we can't even say that.
Yep. We saw some Motorola code names pop up this week, including the X Plus One, the X Watch, Titan, Quantum, U-Line. We're not sure what all these devices are. Some of them seem pretty obvious, like the X Watch.
Yeah. There's the X Watch and then the X Clock. I don't know if they're both Moto 360 or if there's two different Android Wear devices. Because the X Watch, there's like 4 or 5 variants, and the X Clock, I think there's only like 2. So I'm guessing maybe if they aren't the same device, the X Clock is the second version. So that's why they don't have as many variants, at least on that site yet. X Plus One, obviously, that's the Moto X for 2014. That one's coming to Latin America, all the carriers. I think that was it. I didn't see anything about Europe or Asia, which is kind of sad since the Moto X is in Europe now. A couple of them do have VoLTE support according to the code name, though. And I think it was the Titan or the Quantum. One of them has VoLTE, then one has VoLTE Verizon. So I'm wondering if one of them is like a Droid device.
That was the U-Line that has VoLTE, and then Verizon's VoLTE.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised to see VoLTE support for those devices since all 3 carriers are launching VoLTE this year.
Yeah.
AT&T and T-Mobile have it out now. Verizon said they're going to launch it like nationally by the end of the year, and well, we haven't heard anything from Sprint yet. Hopefully, hear something soon from them, but I'm sure their devices will have it too pretty soon.
Yep. I think it was nice to see the X Plus One. It's confusing names, but that it has all the carriers listed under there too. So maybe it'll launch for all of them at the same time instead of just one for a while.
Well, it launched for all of them last year. Just Moto Maker was only for AT&T for a few months, which that was pretty much the biggest selling point of the Moto X for a lot of people.
Yep. So we'll see how that goes now.
I just hope it gets sold through T-Mobile so that people can, buy it on Jump and stuff like that. Yep. So I actually had to buy it through Motorola, and that was because there were some network issues with the device, so T-Mobile wouldn't support it.
And Motorola says that they're closing their plant in Texas. I don't think I put that in the notes this week, but I'll update that. So they're closing down their Texas plant, which is not surprising. Lenovo's not a U.S. company. They're going to move that manufacturing overseas, even though the deal's not completed yet. Motorola obviously wasn't making enough money selling these phones in the States. So, but they say that Moto Maker is not going away. So they still are claiming a turnaround time of about 4 days. If you request a Moto Maker device and they can ship it to Europe from China in about 4 days is what they're saying. So,
right now they said they're closing it up by the end of this year. So we still have about 6 more months of Moto Maker in the U.S. at least. I know they were looking to open up other factories, but I'm guessing they've killed that by now since they're killing the Texas factory.
Probably.
Yeah, Lenovo's definitely not going to.
I'm not expecting customization options from the Moto X Plus One unless it's like the Moto G where you can, change the back and get different colors that way. But as far as having a non-removable back cover, I don't see that happening with the Moto X.
Honestly, I'd rather them go with the shells. They did that for the G and the E, so
because then you can change
decided that was better. Yeah, exactly. And then you're not stuck with the one thing. Or worse yet, if you go buy a case and then you cover up the whole point of customizing your phone.
Yep. So
you can always just buy a skin from Slick Wraps or D-Brand.
True.
Get a wood Moto X Plus One.
If you want a Moto X, if you want something with a wood back, if you want to customize your device, even if you're not going to use it, even if you just want it to always remember the Moto X, go get one before the plant closes. Because we don't know what's going to happen after that. And they're always on sale. They're on sale.
I think they have a couple more hours left for their $100 off sale right now. It goes like the 4th and 5th.
So, and I'm sure it'll go on sale again before the end of the summer. So
they're probably on sale next week.
Yeah, it's been like every other week since the phone came out. What is T-Mobile going to announce on June 18th at their UnCarrier 5.0 event?
That they bought Verizon.
Or that they're selling to Sprint. So that's happening. And
I don't know if that would be an UnCarrier thing, though.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be.
Like every other carrier is getting bought up right now. Cricket just got bought up. Well, Leap Wireless. So I can't even think of what's left to announce. Yeah, I don't even know.
Hey, all right.
Looks like we lost Nick.
Yeah, that was strange. We're still live, but feed just cut out and came back.
Well, hello.
Yeah, that happened like a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about it being IO's fault, so I'll blame it on IO again.
I guess, man. Hangouts acting crazy.
Somebody jumped over the cord in Mountain View.
Yep, that's exactly right.
As far as UnCarrier 5.0, I think it's more tablet stuff because that seems to be what all the carriers are going after now because I guess they've sold as many smartphones as they think they really can now. So the next thing is tablets for more like lines of service and stuff. But I don't know what other pain points they can do really.
Well, this the invite says we don't play it safe and sound. So
he says it on Twitter all the time. So
right, that's not like a new saying for them.
Yeah.
T-Mobile is not rolling out a music service because when I think about play and sound, there could be something. But I don't see T-Mobile rolling out a music service. I have absolutely no idea what they're doing here.
The first thing I thought of when I saw it was voice over LTE, but I don't know why they would hold an event for that.
I don't think they're going to come out that early, at least not in like a ton of cities, because I don't see them doing it for like a city or two since they already have it out in Seattle and San Francisco.
Yep.
But they teased a new service called the Underground AIM, or the Underground Today, which is aimed at tech enthusiasts. I haven't read the article yet. I think Justin put it up earlier.
Yeah, it's right now it's just a gold Galaxy S5, but the basic gist of that is they're going to be offering like limited edition phones and devices that you can't normally get through their stores online or something, and that they're only in limited quantities. So, first thing I thought of when I saw that was a 1+1, but I didn't get my hopes up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the gold S5 they announced a couple weeks ago. Pretty much all the carriers announced it at the same time, so I don't know it wasn't just released at the same time as the other colors.
They want it to be special and limited and blah blah blah. So
I mean, it's not like T-Mobile announced it today and then Sprint announced it next week. All four, well, actually five, because US Cellular, all five of them announced it the exact same day. Same press release too.
Yep. So that'll be happening. Amazon's announcing their phone on the 18th as well. They've already released kind of a demo video. Not a demo, but like a teaser. People are holding what you assume is a phone. At one point, you see the very top of the phone in the video, just a little sneak peek. There's a headphone jack on the top. And they're talking about, like, they're holding it sideways. They're kind of looking back at it and, like, holding it at weird angles, and which seems to play into the, like, multi-camera 3D thing that Amazon's rumored to be doing with their phone.
Yeah, we've seen leaks of it from BGR. They have like all the leaks for Amazon lately. Basically, it looks like the mix between a Nexus 4 and like an iPhone.
Yep.
But it's supposed to have, is it 6 cameras? I know there's like 4 on the front, like in every corner, then that 1 or 2 on the back. Or is it the 5th one is the front-facing camera, then 1 on the back?
And those cameras are supposed to be used for some kind of 3D, we don't know what.
I wonder if HTC is building this, because they build a lot of phones like this, like all the Facebook phones. They did, and this one's supposed to be exclusive to AT&T as well, and that's something else HTC does a lot.
Yeah, the sensors they're using in those are not like regular cameras. They're specifically 3D gesture cameras.
Yep.
So
they're taking Samsung's gestures to the next level.
Hey, if it works, then it could be cool. That was almost always the issue with Samsung devices. It's like, well, this sounds nice, but it doesn't work most of the time.
If it works and it's not over the top, I think.
Yeah, if it's not something stupid.
The one feature that I like from Samsung phones that I was actually surprised that it worked was the Smart State, where it watches your eyes to make sure you're still looking at the screen, and if they can't find your eyes, it'll turn it off. That's like the only thing I leave on with Samsung devices. All the rest of that stuff I just turn off because it never really works that well. Like the smart pause, every time you blink, it just pause it, but never start it back up.
And we're also talking about a 4.7-inch device with a 720p resolution display.
And you remember how everybody freaked out about the Moto X having that last year?
Right. 2 gigs of RAM, 13 megapixel rear camera, quad-core Snapdragon CPU, but we don't know. It's probably a Snapdragon 600.
I was even going to say an 800 because of all the gesture stuff they have on that.
It could be an 800 because the Kindle Fires from last year, the HDX is 800.
The HDX has 800.
That makes sense.
The Fire TV has a variant of the 800. It's like built specifically for the Fire TV, but it's still in that family.
But it's supposed to be low cost.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not really excited about it, but we'll see what it is here in about 2 weeks.
I don't know if anybody is.
Right. I've seen very few people talking about it. Other than, it's happening on the same day as T-Mobile's event.
Even with the leaks, everybody's like, isn't it the Nexus 4 with the Amazon logo?
Yep, pretty much. Samsung announced their first Tizen device as well, speaking of phones that I'm not really excited about.
You mean the Xperia Z?
Yeah. So this it's just the Samsung Z, right?
Yep.
It's heading to Russia, so we're not going to see it here in the States anyway. Specs are okay.
Galaxy S3.
Yeah.
As far as specs go.
Yep. It's got a Snapdragon 800 chipset, but other than that, it's a S3.
Which I think is probably fine for it because, as far as I know, Tizen is basically HTML5 operating system like Firefox OS and some of those other ones out there.
Yep.
So you don't really need, like a Snapdragon 800 or 4K display or 2K display. It'd be nice, but as far as the first device goes, they don't want to, I guess, price it too high because then a lot of people probably won't buy it. Probably price about where an S4 is sold right now, maybe a little bit lower, but it's only coming to Russia, so.
And there's no apps for it. From what I have read, it's relatively easy to port Android apps to Tizen.
Yep.
Because they're both running on a Linux kernel, and
I think I heard that they're gonna do Android apps kind of like BlackBerry was doing Android apps, or still are doing Android apps.
Like an emulator, yeah.
Which is a crappy way to do it.
Oh yeah.
I guess depending on what it is, it might work okay.
The UI looks like TouchWiz. No surprise there.
Without Google Apps.
Yep.
The hands-on video that went up this morning, he's going through like the settings. He's like, now this looks nothing like TouchWiz on the Galaxy S5. I'm like, the settings looks exactly like it. The same icons and everything.
Yep.
Now the home screen doesn't look exactly like it, but it's really close.
Yeah, like they stuck the camera on the side instead of being straight up. I don't know. It's like silly little tweaks. I don't know. Basically, it looks like an S5 in terms of software to me.
I think more the icons are like flat and round and stuff, like you'd see in the settings. I'm trying to remember if all the other icons in there are like that. I don't think they are.
You know, the hardware itself, it looks kind of like the cheapy LG phones. You know, the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I
The
can't remember,
L1
Optimus
series.
L9 or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I thought it was really funny because guess what's made a great little appearance right on the front? The menu button.
Yep. Yeah, to put that on there, man.
Samsung's like,
when I was
stick it on there.
when I was writing the Samsung Z this morning, I think I wrote like Samsung Xperia Z like 3 times because it looks so much like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
And because it's Samsung Z, Sony Z, or Sony Xperia Z, the names are so close.
Yep.
So that'll be coming soon to Russia.
Yeah, I don't see any Tizen devices other than the Gears coming to the US anytime soon because of app support.
Yeah.
And because it's a brand new OS, and here the market is so tough. I mean, if somebody could do it, it's going to be Samsung with all their marketing power. But I don't think they're going to bring it now. Probably next year, I'd say.
And maybe the Samsung Z blows up in Russia and makes its way to parts of Asia, India,
Yep.
and other parts of Europe, and builds up a following. And they're apparently going to be pretty aggressive with the compensation for developers that build apps for Tizen, which probably just means they're going to share more of the revenue. They're not going to take as big a cut if you build Tizen apps.
If they want to be successful over here, they're going to have to get it onto a carrier, and I don't know if any carriers are going to go for another OS because they already have, well, pretty much 2 or 3 because of Windows Phone.
But they already have Windows Phone that isn't really catching on and needs better app support. So.
Yep.
But that's coming to Russia. Chromecast is coming to Japan, Australia, and other parts of Europe. So that'll be happening soon. The rest of the world is slowly getting Chromecast, which is great. I love it. Give it to more people.
Absolutely.
And then this I wanted to talk about a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. Alex, go ahead.
I was just going to say the Chromecast is amazing for $35.
Yes.
It's amazing, period. I love it.
But I want to talk about this next topic.
Me too. This is a big deal, and we're kind of blowing up Nick's spot for what's new in your Android world because it's, I think, the biggest new Android thing he's done this week. But
For you.
In a long time.
Nick, man, what'd you do?
There. I'm not even going to say it. I'll just put it on the camera. It's got
Buttons
back
on the back. Nick swapped in his Galaxy Note 3 for an LG G2.
Yes.
Jump
and I
ship.
couldn't be happier. I really couldn't.
Why?
I don't know if I missed the S Pen yet. We'll see in daily use if I do try to pull the pen out or something and try to write with it. But so far I've had it for 3 days, and I'm extraordinarily happy with pretty much everything. Gosh, people talk about the whole Samsung UI lagging and all that crap, and you don't really realize it until you start using another phone that's not a Samsung phone as your daily driver. And I'm constantly like unlocking the phone and being like, dear God, there's no stuttering. Like, oh my gosh, I hit the app drawer, there's no stuttering. I open Hangouts and I'm switching conversations, there's no stuttering. Like, you don't realize how annoying that is in everyday use until you don't have it anymore. And then, of course, the camera, which I probably complained to no end about on the Note 3. This thing murders the Note 3's camera. Doesn't even come close to saying what it does. Like, every situation I've taken it in, it's fantastic.
Are you still using the G Pro 2 camera?
Yes, I took your advice and I put the G Pro 2 camera on there. I have to say the only thing that it doesn't do any better than the Note 3's on, at least in terms of stock camera, is low light photos. The G Pro 2 camera completely fixed that. If you don't feel like rooting and doing that, the Google camera almost completely fixes that. So I think the nice thing is that it uses a Sony sensor, and the Google camera supports that. It doesn't have the HDR Plus like the Nexus 5 does, but it's still got a really phenomenal HDR mode on there. and it takes really good low light shots too. So, trying to think what else I have to say about it. I haven't really had enough time to screw around with it.
How's that battery life?
I don't know yet. I haven't. I mean, it seems pretty decent, but I've been installing stuff and taking pictures and doing all kinds of things. I have to wait to like calm down and actually use it normally to be able to assess that.
But this is a big jump for you, man. You've been using Note devices for a couple of years now. I swore by that S Pen.
All three of them.
Yeah.
So I think the only other downside was losing half an inch on the screen, but I really don't notice it that much. Once I get exposed on there and get the DPI changed and all that stuff, it probably won't bother me at all.
Does the phone feel tiny compared to the Note 3?
No. It just feels maybe less unwieldy. I always like that word, unwieldy. Very interesting word, but I don't know. The Note 3, there's a lot of shifting, and I don't feel like I have to shift this one as much. And it's nice. I don't lose that much screen real estate, but it feels like it's just a much more comfortable phone in your hand. And then the person I bought it off of, it came with a nice little Tech 21 case, which is that kind with the D3O on the sides. So I don't usually drop my phones, but I guess in case I do.
Yep.
So cool, man. Well, we'll check back in with you next week once you've had some more time to play with it. But
yeah.
See, if you got the Korean one, you could pull out the antenna thinking it's the S Pen.
You could, or you could.
Why isn't this stupid thing coming out?
Right, go to Korea and watch TV on it, but I think that's crazy, man.
You might be able to get the signal from Korea all the way in Florida.
Yeah,
maybe.
I go stand on one of those mountains, right?
Yep. The concept of having an antenna on my phone to watch local television, it just blows my mind, man. It makes me want to move to Korea.
Yeah, they say it's not as popular as it was like a couple of years ago, which I'm not really surprised.
No, but food's good too, so I wouldn't mind hitting up South Korea for a little while.
Yep.
Moving on to some software and app stuff, and then we'll wrap it up here. Android 4.4.3 dropped this week. It's official. It's out. There are, I don't know, is the OTA pushing yet? I didn't see
for the. I don't know if there's actually OTA, but I know the files are out for basically all the Nexus devices except for I think the original Nexus 7. The Nexus 10 and 4 came out yesterday. Motorola is supposed to be pushing out to the Moto X, G, and E this week, and then the Droid devices I think later this month. The GPE devices have the files. I don't know if the OTA is coming out yet.
Yeah, I all my friends with the Nexus 5 have updated, but I don't know how they did it. So they probably just flashed it in recovery or something.
Yeah, just download the file and flash it.
More than likely.
The code's in AOSP, so ROM developers are working on that already, I'm sure.
I know OmniROM already has it, and I'm pretty sure CM will probably have it in there if they don't already, because it's not like it's a huge update, and they usually can do that within a day or two.
Yep. They got a lot of phones. CM's got a lot of phones they support, though, so it might take them a little while longer on some of the devices.
They've got one that nobody can get their hands on.
Yeah. But it's not a huge update, but it fixes Bluetooth bugs, some battery life stuff, camera issues. It has a new dialer built in. So we saw this dialer leak a while ago.
Yep.
And it's officially here. It just kind of updates the look of it.
It did update functionality.
Yes, with the
actual dialer screen is now more logically organized. So as soon as you open dialer, instead of having the seemingly random list of contacts, it's now actually the last people you contacted plus your favorites.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to when my work S3 gets its CM update to 4.4.3, because that's definitely the most annoying part about that dialer.
Yep. So be on the lookout for that. Not a huge update, but definitely a needed one to fix those bugs. And I'm glad that Google addressed those issues too.
Oh yeah.
June distribution numbers. Well, these are for May, but they came out. And KitKat is at almost 14% install base now. 13.6% of Android devices that access the Google Play Store in May were running KitKat. 58.4% are running Jelly Bean. Most of the devices, let's see.
Still a big chunk on Gingerbread, like almost 15%.
Yeah.
Most of the
I just
majority
don't
are
understand
Jelly Bean,
that. God, the gingerbread thing just drives me crazy.
Low-end
It's
devices,
funny
low-end
that
tablets, man.
Tim Cook was saying in his keynote on Monday that like almost half of Android users are on a 4-year-old operating system. I didn't know 15% equals 50%.
Right, right. Well, and
I guess he might be
fuzzy math.
dyslexic and mixed up to 5 into 1.
It just sounded good.
yeah, it absolutely just sounded good. And
I mean, I know we don't have OTAs as good as iOS does. That's one thing I wish Google would steal from Apple, really. Getting your OTA to iOS 7 the day that it's available. I mean, I think it was iOS 6 when they pushed that out with the Mountain Lion. They pretty much broke the internet in a lot of countries because the internet went down because there was so much traffic from downloading those updates.
but here's the thing. When Google pushes out updates, they don't anymore. We haven't seen a major OS update in a while.
Yeah.
ICS, I think, was really the last major one.
Right.
Everything else has been kind of minor.
I would say Jelly Bean because we got all the Project Butter stuff.
Yes.
Semantics, though.
Which Jelly Bean?
4.1, the first one, I'm sorry. Duh.
Yeah.
Because there's like so many.
But with Google Play Services now, when they push out an update, it's almost on a per app basis. I mean, you got devices that one of the other things that Tim Cook said is these old Android devices or these Android devices running old versions of Android don't get the latest apps, don't get the latest security updates, and that's not true.
Correct.
Because Gingerbread devices get the latest version of Gmail, they get all the latest versions of Google apps, they get the security updates now because of Google Play services.
Yep.
So they're separate pieces, and it was pretty misleading the way he
there are some apps that
that.
don't go that far back. Like the biggest one I could think of is the Google cameras, only KitKat and above. I think Gmail might be ICS and above now too. I think that just changed recently though.
But if you look at ICS,
still, that's what about 85% of Android users?
Yep.
That's still a big chunk.
Yeah.
But what about all those on Froyo still?
That one I really wonder about.
That's what, like almost 5 years now?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know where those are coming from.
August 2010, I think. Or sometime in summer, I can't remember what month it was. But, I think...
I can't remember what it looked like.
Yeah, exactly. The whole misleading thing about the numbers and being on a 4-year-old OS and all that crap, when it all boils down to it, it just comes down to completely different ways of them designing the OS. You have iOS that requires, you to update the OS. The thing, every time iOS comes out, they're always like, oh, we have 200 new features. I think this is the only time they didn't do that. I don't remember seeing that in this keynote. But
they probably have more than that.
Yeah, they probably do. But that's usually their mantra is 200 new features. Whereas, like, I wonder if you took all the Google updates in any given year and put them all together, how many different features you would have.
Well, you'd probably have a lot of features, just a lot of them are, under the hood stuff. Like,
sure.
4.3 was like all under the hood stuff.
And 4.4 was too, really. It's a lot of the same kind of thing.
There are a few visual changes that I really like the white icons in the status bar.
Yeah, and then like the lock screen, it was like 3 things. It wasn't really significant.
Without printing.
They haven't had a big UI refresh in quite a while for that. But, like all the Project Hera stuff. You know, we
the
started
one
seeing
thing
that roll out with a few things here and a few things there, and now we have a handful of apps that are already to that point.
the one thing I'd like to see is like when Google pushed out 4.4.3 the other day. I'd like to see it on every device that's already on 4.4.2. I mean, we got pretty close though, because we've got the Nexus and GPs are already getting it. Motorola's line of devices are all getting it this month, which is pretty crazy. Because usually when you get a point update that's that low, like 4.4.2 to 4.4.3, you usually don't see an update until like 4.5 or something.
Correct. And
We've seen the update in Samsung and LG support site. HTC, I'm pretty sure they're going to roll theirs out soon because they got their GP device already getting it.
Yep. Yeah, it's getting much better.
Oh yeah, I remember when the gingerbread updates were so long. ICS was too, but that's because of how big of an update it was.
Yeah, see, and for the entirety of gingerbread, I ran CM, so I don't even. I just updated like every day.
Gingerbread because I was actually using iOS at the time.
Nice.
And then I switched over to the Galaxy Nexus on Sprint, which really wasn't a good idea.
It's better than iOS.
Mostly because it was a Galaxy Nexus.
Yeah.
That thing. I think I threw it out the window a few times.
Instagram. Instagram got a big update too, and I didn't see if we wrote this up on the site or not, but
I didn't even know they had one.
Yeah, they added a bunch of photo editing stuff. So if you use Instagram, and like I use Snapseed a lot, and I probably will still use Snapseed, but Instagram added in a bunch of the photo editing stuff now. When you go into the app, and if you tap on, I'll get this pulled up. Not that it's going to matter because you won't be able to see it very well, but that's okay. When you tap on it
on the 3rd, so a couple days ago.
Okay. So if you tap on the filter, it now gives you the option to like select the level. So you got a bar across the bottom there, and you can have more or less filter.
So
and
it's not just the one thing.
Right. And you've also got tools now across the top too. So straighten, brightness, contrast, warmth, saturation, highlights, shadows, vignette, tilt shift. So it's not as powerful as Snapseed or whatever other photo editor you might use, but it's a pretty big update and adds some more functionality. There might be times when you don't need to jump into a photo editing app. Now you can just use Instagram.
Which is good for people on iOS.
Yeah. Hangouts was updated too. Custom ringtones, battery fixes.
So happy to see this.
Yeah, because it was.
Thank God for the battery fix.
I looked at my battery. I think it was yesterday when the update came out. Hangouts had used 57% of my battery.
Holy smokes!
The screen was at like 10%, and it had like an hour on screen time.
And it was all Hangouts.
Yeah, and I only opened it once for like a minute.
It was pretty bad for a while there.
It was just to reply to you guys, and then I never opened it again the rest of the day. It was so bad.
Yeah, they screwed something up. Hopefully they fix it. I literally just updated before the show started, so.
I updated yesterday because I was writing the post, and I don't think it's in my battery stats at all today. And I have opened it a few times. Let's see. Nope.
Yeah, I think they got it fixed.
Here. So it looks like it's fixed now. All the Google Play services is climbing up there now.
Whoops. So, Nick, we know what's new in your Android world this week. Well, anything else besides the new phone? Any other fun stuff you got going on?
Now I gotta try to remember. I don't have anything installed yet on here, so I can't even look through my list of apps and tell you yes or no.
Yeah, new camera to play around with.
Come back to me, and I'll see if I can think of anything.
Right. No worries, man. I'm looking through now too. It's been kind of a quiet week for me. Alex, what about you, man?
I got a bunch of new hardware. I got the Galaxy Tab 4. Whoa, that's bright.
Super torch mode.
Yeah, no joke.
The Galaxy Tab 4 10.1, it's actually not that bad. I mean, when you look at the specs, it doesn't seem like it's going to be all that spectacular of a tablet. 720p display. I think it's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 400 inside.
Did you say 720p?
Yeah. 1280 by 800.
I'm gonna go cry.
Qualcomm Snapdragon 400, 1.5 gigs of RAM. I don't know why they do it that way. 16 gig storage, micro SD, the faux leather back, but it doesn't have the stitching. It's just faux leathers, like no stitching on the back, because it does the size too.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Is that the one that they're using for the Barnes & Noble look?
It's probably the exact same tablet. They just put a Barnes & Noble logo maybe somewhere, and then their apps on there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And Samsung also sent over the Gear Fit here, which I've been using last few days. I still really like it, but just not enough to buy a Samsung device because it won't work with my G2. Then I've got the Gear 2 Neo here, which I can't have them both connected to the Tab 4 at the same time, which is funny.
That definitely does look better than the first Gear.
I didn't know how I liked the home button there, but I actually like it because with the Gear before, I was always wondering how to get back home because you gotta keep swiping down, and if you're pretty far in like a settings menu or something, that's a lot of swiping. Just hit home and you're there, and then home will turn it off as well.
Yeah, you can always use the power button is the same thing on the first Gear. I think it's just nicer to have it on the front rather than having to grab it from the sides.
Yeah, and it's got the IR blaster there too, which is pretty cool, and you'll be able to control your TV from your wrist.
Yeah.
Then I got this phone from, I think it's called Yez. It's a 6-inch QHD display. So when you talk about 720p, this is even worse. But it's a $179 phone, so it's basically competing with the Moto G 13 megapixel camera, dual SIM inside, SD card slot, obviously, because it's only 4 gigs of RAM or 4 gigs of storage in there. I think it's a gig of RAM. I'm not quite sure on that. I just got it like a few hours ago, so I haven't really had a chance to do much with it other than put in the battery. But they did send like 3 cases, screen protector, headphones, and everything in the box, and this is a retail box, so when you spend $180 on it, you get a lot of goodies with it, which is nice to see from Yes and Blue. And I think that's it. I don't think I have any new apps.
Well, I'll let you look, man. The only thing I really got this week is a couple of apps. The LG G3 keyboard. I've been using that. So we were playing with Flexi last week. The G3 keyboard leaked out, and then there was an APK installer, which made it super easy to get it up and running. You just download the APK, open it, run it. It downloads all the files it needs, tweaks the framework, and gets the keyboard up and running. So, and it's a for a stock keyboard, man. It's good.
Yeah, I used it on the G2 for like a day, then I went back to SwiftKey again. I just couldn't get off the SwiftKey for some reason.
Hey, whatever works for you.
So long. I forgot that I have the G3 notification panel on here, which I think it's only for the G2, and it doesn't work on the Verizon and Sprint ones. Last time I checked.
Yeah.
So you gotta be rooted. There's a different zip for like each ROM, but it has to be based off of LG's like stock ROM. So Cloudy Flex, Cloudy Pro, I forget the other Cloudy ones that he's made, but ROMs like that. It's pretty easy. You just flash it through recovery and you're all set. One other thing I wanted to show, I don't know if it's like this with the regular notification panel, but if you long press the settings gear up here, you can hide the sliders.
What?
Oh, dude.
I just found that out the other day. I'm not sure if it's like that on the regular, the stock G2 notification shade. I guess
no, it's not.
Yeah. What about if you go to edit and the toggles? Because it's like down the G Flex. You can get rid of it there.
that declutters your notifications so much. Being
That's
able
what
to
I
get rid
use
of that,
Expose
man.
for, is to get rid of the volume one. Because the brightness one I'm fine with, but the volume one I never use.
Right.
Yeah, I hate the volume one there. Like, get rid of that garbage.
It's like the only thing I
That's a
use
shame.
Expose for. That and the immersive mode for everything. But yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. Well, Nick, we did have a question for you. We missed this a little while ago. Frank asked, which do you prefer, the knock-on feature or the back buttons?
For turning it on, I like knock-on. For turning it off, I haven't found that knock-on works for turning it off. Only in certain settings. I don't know if I'm just doing it wrong or what, but I know I've been able to turn it off before using that.
Do you have a third-party launcher on there?
I literally just switched to Nova like during the podcast, so.
Because if you have a third-party launcher, you have to actually tap the status bar. And what I found, if you tap it 3 times, it'll work almost every time.
Oh, look at that. Yep, that works.
And if you're in apps,
status bar and it shuts off.
If you're in any app, you have to do the status bar too. You can't just do an empty place in the app or whatever. Because I have Nova on there all the time now for icon packs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to do. Well,
yep.
What was the other thing? Oh, the back buttons. I love using the back buttons for the camera. It's nice because and you can just, go anywhere. It makes it, I don't know, it makes it really nice to use.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm trying to think what else. I thought I had something else earlier that I wanted to mention about it, but I don't know anymore. It's too late for me.
Yeah, we'll circle back around to it next week. Get some more feedback on those, knock-on versus back buttons and all the other stuff that you get to play with.
Yep,
Just
exactly.
wait till we get the NAC code update, because I used that on the Lucid 3, because that one has the NAC code update. Man, that thing is amazing.
Yeah, see, that might be the one thing that will actually get me to use a security thing on the lock screen. God, it's getting late. I can't even talk.
Yeah, I have one on the Lucid 3. I mean, you can just tap however you set it up to do it. There's
freaking awesome.
88,000 different combinations. And it's better than having the pattern, because then you can see people's fingerprints and so easily to hack. But with that, I mean, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4 in a small square. You can do it in a big square. You can do it anywhere on the screen. It's pretty much endless.
Good stuff. Well, that is, I think, going to do it for the show this week. Maybe my video's cutting out.
Nope, you're good.
Not over here.
I'm still here? Okay. Just on my end then. Acting crazy. Well, you can find us at AndroidHeadlines.com, obviously. On Twitter, at AndroidHeadline without the S. Google+, Facebook. Shoot us an email. Download the podcast. Let us know what you want to hear. We are here every week for you guys. We have fun talking about this stuff. We want to know what you want us to do. So, Nick, Alex, thanks so much for hanging out.
Sure thing, man. It's been fun.
Have a good night.
See you
Later.